I
So
love
we
that.
start off with Xbox or PlayStation.
Ooh, I would say Xbox.
Yeah. Do you actually get time to game, or are you very?
I'm the world's worst, to be honest, but I grew up with a lot of friends that had Xbox, so I would be more than that. Although I will say I tried out the PS4 and it was really good. So either one, but I'm more familiar with the Xbox.
Okay, so I was like I grew up on Master System from Sega, like that far back,
Whoa.
and
Okay.
like the Mega Drive, which we have over here, which I think you guys called the Genesis, came after that. So, yeah, like I was always that, and then we had PlayStation when I was a kid, and then I had Xbox as a grown up, and now I don't have time for any of
Yeah, no, it's over.
it. And then Windows or Mac.
Mac,
Okay,
by far, but I started out on Windows. So like my first ever computer and like for probably 4 or 5 years was Windows, but now I use Final Cut, so only Mac.
Final Cut's just the one, right? Like I think Adobe's great, but the fact they charge you every month for everything, and it can get real expensive, right?
I actually
Um,
pay for both, which is tragic. So I'm not helping myself at all.
that is
Um,
upsetting.
but now with M3, like Final Cut is so efficient. And also I think it's just like the ecosystem of like file transfer, especially for video. If I record something quickly on like an iPhone, then I can easily add it to the timeline. On Windows, that would
Yeah.
be a little bit less intuitive.
Yeah, I do the same. If I'm doing any sort of B-roll, I tend to just grab my phone and do it. But for my A-roll, I don't even have to airdrop it because I record everything in continuity camera, which is
Oh,
what we're using right now.
whoa.
So
And it
this
looks
is
really good.
wireless as well.
That's crazy, actually, because it's so high quality. That I think is one of the
It's
best features that they've added.
it's super crispy, and I think they've got to have a plan for it to go into the Vision as well, because obviously they've used
Yeah.
Sidecar with that a lot, where you're moving between like the Mac apps and then using the keyboard and mouse to move over to other apps as well. So I feel like there's going to be something with continuity camera moving into that as well.
Agreed.
Um, the next one up is Android or iOS. What's your daily driver?
I use both, so I have two phone numbers. So on the iPhone side, it would be the iPhone 15 Pro, and then on the Android side, will be either like the S24 Ultra or the Pixel 8 Pro at the moment. Although I'm reviewing the OnePlus 12 right now, so that is the daily. But when I'm not
Okay,
reviewing a phone, it's either S24 Ultra or Pixel.
gotcha. And if you could only have one,
Oh,
which
dude,
way
I
would you go?
cannot answer
It's
that.
so hard,
No.
isn't it?
I love them both. I feel like that's like the most common question. Like when I tell someone that I'm a tech YouTuber and they're not in our space, the number one question is like iOS or Android. In the US, I feel like probably people outside of the US will not relate, but iMessage is such a like dominant feature that especially with Gen Z, if like you don't have iMessage, you're kind of isolated out of group chats a lot. So for that
Mhm.
reason, I think like iMessage is great and so the iPhone, but then Android has so much to offer. And like on the customization front, the camera quality, I honestly couldn't pick. I love them both a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm paying for two phone numbers every month.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might do a series on customizing for iPhone because I think that might be quite
Ooh,
interesting.
that is
Um,
interesting.
and fun to like break up into shorts and stuff as well, which might work well on the other platforms. But
I agree.
yeah. Now I see you're sipping. Are you a tea person or a coffee person?
Dude, cold brew 100% of the
Mm-hmm.
time. Yeah. Are you
Mm-hmm.
tea because
Oh
England
God,
or?
no. No.
Oh, whoa,
No, I'm
okay.
very coffee. Like I spent a year living in Dubai, and
Wow.
when I was opening hotels on the Palm over there, and we got like the best coffee training in the world for like making really good espresso from scratch. And
Okay.
since then, I've been a black coffee, no sugar, no sweetener, that
Wait,
kind of
what's your
person.
number one tip? Like, what did they teach you?
It's all about the grind, like making sure that the grind is right first, and basically, as long as your espresso is good in any coffee, you're gonna have a really good experience.
Wow.
But you can't hide bad coffee with the rest of the drink,
I
basically.
agree with that. Yeah, like I love cold brew the most, but I think it's like the hardest one to get right because it takes
Hmm.
like it's like a 10-hour brewing. So if I'm out and about, I'll often get a latte because I feel like that's harder to mess up.
Yeah,
Although if the espresso's bad, then it's over. So either
we've
one, you kind of need
we
someone that's good.
we've got some really good roasteries over here that do nitro cold brew. So it's like basically it pours like a Guinness, but
Yeah,
it's so good. I don't know if you guys have that over there yet. I'm
we
guessing you
do.
do.
We do. I am not a fan of beer, so nitro is like my
Mm.
worst nightmare because I feel like it's similar to that. But everyone else that I know loves it.
It's like creamy but black coffee. It's
Yeah.
super cool. And then the last one, and this might be a tricky one for you because I think you do both of these quite prolifically. YouTube
Thanks.
or podcast, if only one could exist,
Oh,
which way would
YouTube.
you go? Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, YouTube's like had my heart since I was like 9 years old. But podcasting is cool too, because I think with a podcast, what's really exciting is that if you like post like once a week and it's like an hour long, you could be one of the people that actually like talks to the audience the most, which I think is like such a privilege because we don't really talk to that many people for like an hour period, like in that depth. And so I think podcasting builds like a lot of like emotional closeness with an audience, but YouTube is like the best platform for discovery in my opinion. And also I think having the visual element, especially for tech, is so exciting because you can be like, hey, like look at this, like this is the new thing. Whereas with podcasting, it's all description.
Yeah, and to be fair, this is still a very new podcast. This is episode 6, so we've not been going for too long, but I think 6 is the average number of episodes that a podcast gets to, and then everyone dies. So
you're now above average. I think you're actually probably top 1% when you get to 8 or something.
We're doing pretty well, so that's cool. We've already got the next one as well. Is all booked in, so we're good. We should at least do 7. But yeah, the YouTube channel for me has been going since like 2020. But how long have you guys been going over there? Like you've been making stuff for a while.
Yeah, I started when I was 13. So it's been 8.5 years, 9 years now. I'm 22, so it's been a minute. But honestly, even before that channel, I was always just like obsessed with YouTube, and it was not my first. Other ones have since been privated, and they were not about tech. I had like a singing channel for a while.
You have to bring this stuff back soon, like for
I know,
an anniversary.
Guys, gotta like come out of the archives.
Like a reaction video of you reacting to your own videos from when you were younger. That would be amazing.
I would die of cringe. No, the first ever video was like a microphone unboxing of a Rode microphone, and I like recorded the whole thing. Actually, my mom helped me record it, and then I decided in post to voice over it, which didn't make any sense because my like hand gestures were synced to what I was actually saying in the moment. And then I tried to voice over to the hand gestures. It was a nightmare. Like this video is like the worst video on the internet. But yeah, I've been doing it a very long time. And I think it's so cool that even like 2020 was pretty early. Like every year I feel like it just evolves more and more and more and gets more and more mature, which is exciting.
And you guys have blown up just recently. I keep saying you guys, it's basically you, right?
Thank you.
I know you've got someone else helping film and stuff, but it seems like you do almost all of the editing and scripting.
Recently,
and all that stuff.
I actually just hired an incredible editor, which is so exciting. Love him. He's genuinely one of the most talented people I know. And so, yeah, now it's definitely expanding, which is exciting because up until, I think I edited 396 videos, and which was basically the first 8 years of videos. And I still honestly like love editing, but I think when we look at like broader, like what we want to grow this into, spending like 20 hours a week editing was not conducive to growing it. And I was pulling like an all-nighter every week, which honestly I'm happy to do. Like I will do that for growing the channel, but I think I should like devote that time to other things that grow it. And he's awesome. Like Scott is the best. So it's been so much fun. And I also think it's so like when you work with other people, it's really collaborative too. So now the team is like, no one is full-time yet, but hopefully this year. But right now it's probably like 3 or 4 people that are very actively involved in the creative, and then people also on the business side that are excellent.
Awesome. Yeah. And in terms of like the current setup, I know you mentioned your MacBook Pro. You got with the black one, so it's either a Pro or a Max.
Yep,
Which
it's
one
the
did you go
M3 Max. I just got it last week. Loving it.
Did you go 14 or 16-inch?
16. That was tough though. I always just like the most power. Yeah, but 14 is so much more portable. So it's like pros and cons. I have a MacBook Air that I did a video on recently. So I feel like that's like the one that if I need like slimness and like lightweight, but then when I'm actually editing or working on stuff, then the 16 is so nice.
And it's still so portable. I mean, I still work off the M2 MacBook Air. That's my main machine right now.
Okay.
And then I've got Project 91 over here, which is my classic Macintosh that's got an M1 Mac Mini inside and a Retina display. So it's really fun. That's what runs my desktop most of the time. But yeah, M2 MacBook Air is just fully capable of everything I need. I'm like running a 4K display off of it, and that's it's
what were you using before?
So prior to Apple Silicon coming out at all, I have a 27-inch iMac from 2013, which is sitting up here. I was still using that up until 2020. So yeah.
Nice. So yeah, that is one of the coolest things is like how long they last, right? Like the phone, I feel like you upgrade, or at least I upgrade like every year. I think most people upgrade like 2 to 4 years, but the computers really last a long time, which makes sense because they're incredibly expensive. I just got this computer last week, and I think like all spec'd out, it was like maybe $5,000.
Yeah.
They're definitely quite expensive, but they do have a lot of like longevity and they enable all the work.
Yeah, and to be fair, that iMac, it was just before they went to the 5Ks.
Okay.
So it's like a 2.5K, I guess. It's like 2460 by 1440. That thing cost me just under $2,000, and it lasted me like 7-8 years nearly.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah, that's
That's not
really
bad going. It got some more RAM thrown in the back of it because you could do that back in the day, and I ended up running the operating system off of an SSD hanging out the back. Like it wasn't even an
whoa.
internal SSD
That's
when I
what. Wait.
bought
Okay.
it.
Wait. Question: If you
Hmm.
had to pick, would you rather the ability to add RAM back, like that feature, or the removable battery feature in phones?
Ooh. So adding RAM to laptops or removable batteries in phones, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay.
Because it used to be
So
like you could just add RAM like to the iMac, and then it also used to
yeah,
be that you could pop out the battery of a phone, like the LG G5.
I would say if you were to be able to switch the batteries in phones, you're going to lose waterproofing, and I think that's more important. Like
I like
I'm
that.
happier to go and do like a battery service, but the fact that you can't upgrade RAM at all in a laptop or a Mac of any sort, really, at this point, I think is more of more of a problem. However, I also think 8 gigs in a MacBook Air, which is what I'm using, is absolutely enough for almost everyone. Like, I know
Yeah.
that content creators and the people that talk about it on YouTube need more, probably, but probably don't because I don't. Um, but there, for everyone else, all of the normal people in the world, you don't
Yeah.
need more than that in Apple Silicon. It handles it so well. So I'm surprised that there's as much controversy around the 8 gig thing, even though
Yeah.
like a lot of phones are on 12 now.
I know it is crazy that like some of like the Android phones will have like 12, 16 gigabytes, and then the MacBooks don't. But yeah, it also goes to show like that's only part of the story. It's like when a camera is like 200 megapixels, but then it shoots a significantly worse shot than like a 12 megapixel sensor.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this clip from Aluminium, Apple News with a British accent. If you want to follow the podcast itself, you can either subscribe here on YouTube or you can listen to the audio version on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon.